Imagine this. You're a 10-year-old kid just getting started on summer vacation with your grandpa and cousin. It seems like it might just be the most boring vacation ever, but then a shooting star emerges and crashes right in front of you, giving you an incredible alien device to transform your body into multiple different alien superheroes with powers and abilities beyond your imagination. And every day you go through wild adventures, saving the day again and again wherever you go. And even as you grow up, you become stronger and gain more notoriety and feats, eventually becoming an intergalactic hero and figure known to the entire universe. A literal universal superhero superstar. And all of that before you technically become an adult. It seems like the best life possible, and it is. But what if you're not that kid? Suddenly, things become infinitely worse. Now, Ben 10 is one of the most beloved cartoons of the Cartoon Network. Just wish the network realized that. And I'm a massive fan, if noted by my many videos on it. I find it my favorite sci-fi universe because of how it was handled, being so fun and interesting and tackled in a way I haven't seen in many other things. But in the same vein as my Why It Sucks to Live in KND video, I would not want to actually live in this world. In a high-tech alien universe, you'd almost figure it'd be a unilateral utopia, but man, it is not. Sure, there are plenty of kind and knowledgeable species willing to spread peace and happiness, but there's just as many want to eradicate and conquer the entire universe, you included. And that's even if there are societies at all. Others grew up in a hellscape, incapable and unable to make societies, or even worse, not the top of the food chain. And not to mention actual, universal threats and dangers threatening to destroy literally everything if left unchecked. And those are alien worlds. If you had the misfortune of living on Earth, you had to deal with all of that and more. To the point that you'd swear it's the disaster center of the entire universe, with everything from ancient aliens, unexplained cryptids, to actual gods living among you. Everything is just one bad situation away from being completely destroyed. And I don't even know I could sleep at night with all this stuff happening around me, literally no matter what species I am. So let's dive into a literally galaxy-wide situation on why it sucks to live in Ben 10. Now, it all starts with what you even are. Again, humans are only one of trillions of life forms in this universe, and with millions of sapient species. So immediately, there's so much that can change just for what species you just so happen to be born as. I mean, you can be born as a Vulpamancer. If you want to talk about being screwed, they might take the cake. This species had its planet used as a toxic waste dump by other alien species, spreading toxic radioactive waste all over the planet, making it completely inhospitable. The Vulpamancers were seemingly mutated as a result, forced to live underground in caves and losing their entire sense of sight to survive, becoming brutal hunters. And these are sapient, aka have a human level intellect and mindset, not too different from a primitive man. Not only that, but it seems that they're treated just as vicious predators by most of the universe, with most we see not even from their home planet, but residents of the Null Void, which we'll get to. Imagine that, being a sapient species that had your homeworld polluted to complete inhospitability, forcing you to turn animalistic as the universe can only see you as a monster. Arguably, something similar can be said of another species shown in the show, Detrovites, seemingly gain the reputation of being warlike, unintelligent brutes, with the only examples we see being criminal mercenaries or gladiator slaves.
A Detrobite, limited mental capabilities, all brawn, no brains.
Even the Galvans in lore were first kept as pets for their diminutive size before forming an empire of their own. Not to mention the Inner System, home to what is well regarded as the scariest, most disturbing selection of alien life in the galaxy. But we'll get to more of them later. Still, many alien races don't have it as bad as the Vulpamancers, screwed over fundamentally by forces completely out of their control. Many have a natural world in life, their own ecosystem balance they're a part of like nature intended. But you're not always on top of the food chain. You're the prey. It's easy to forget in a modern human perspective, but plenty of species have to deal every day of their lives with the threat of predation and potential extinction. A food chain where you need to eat or be eaten, and the thing above you has perfectly evolved a method to rip you apart and kill you and your species. Take for example, the Pyronites. We have no idea about their society, but it's a molten hellscape they specifically evolved to adapt to. Flaming, rock-like beings able to manipulate fire. And yet, a species evolved to devour them. Crabdozers are large arthropods covered in thick rock-like hide. They spend most of their life cycles orbiting pyros before crashing like meteorites. And these unstoppable behemoths are completely immune to the scorching temperatures of the planet and the inhabitants, and swallow and snuff out any pyronites they seek to devour. Again, imagine the terror of a whole species evolving specifically to devour you and nullifying any attempt to fight back. You can't reason with it. You can't fight it. It just wants to kill you and eat you alive. And there are so many other examples. Slamworms terrorize the burrowing species, the Talapadans. Massive sandworms of near impossible sizes that burrow into the ground just as quick as their prey, with powerful jaws to rip out their metallic hide and corrosive acid spit to dissolve it away, consuming the flesh underneath. Bug lizard, a massive reptilian beast that could scale the walls of Lepidopteran's hives, able to emit a powerful, noxious gas like a smokescreen, and strong enough to dissolve the bug's goose strands, leaving them virtually defenseless to be eaten whole. The Vicetopus is a massive quadrupedal cephalopod that consumes cerebral crustaceans, the second smartest species in the show, with their rubber-like hide resistant to the crab's electrical attacks and using their powerful grip and limbs to crack their shells to consume. The second smartest species in the show still has to deal with these monsters actively seeking to consume them. Just think about that. The Galvans had one as well with the Omnivoracious, large animals as if you fused a stork with a pterodactyl, with enough cleverness and cunning to outwit even the smartest species known in the galaxy. Only by sheer luck were these terror birds killed off by a meteorite impact in the subsequent Ice Age, and led the Galvans to be able to expand to a proper civilization. The Arachnid Chimp Society is entirely within the treetops of the dense jungle of their planet. Reason being is that their home is host to a variety of threats, notably the massive Leviathan, the Root Shark, that slithers on the floor to attack their treetop settlements and consume any chimp unlucky enough to get caught in its jaws. The Orthopterans may have incredible jumping and crashing ability, seemingly able to quickly outmaneuver any predator. But what if your predator is a blobby horror whose body literally traps and dissolves you? Like a living snare trap to catch insects, imagine getting caught in the body of this abomination. Even something as cute as Ball Weevil has a predator, with Tarantula. Yeah, you thought spiders were bad on Earth? Imagine being hunted by this! Like a literal wolf spider, this monster is quick and hunts down its prey, able to generate electrical webbing that can capture and shock prey, and even strangely neutralize explosive matter, such as the one spat out by Ball Weevil. One of the most unsightly predators to be preyed upon, but prey that you don't get mutated into one like Phil did. But even something as huge as a Vaxosaurian, Humongosaur, has a predator. The biggest known so far, the Casophex ultimosauria, or the Tyrannopede. This was actually based off a Jurassic Park toy, funny enough. This behemoth is so big and strong that it hunts down Humongosaur, one of the most famous and strongest aliens in Ben's arsenal. Seemingly able to bind prey with the silk it emits from its forehead that's so strong it can bind and envelop a Vaxosaurian, making them defenseless. Granted, the species' lepidopteran to grow is never acknowledged after, but I'll assume there's a type of neutralizing metabolic agent in there somewhere. But one of the worst is Hypnotic, or the Psycholepidopteran, predator of Big Chill, or the Necrophrygian species. Not only is it adapted to the same ability to become completely intangible, able to phase through solid matter so there's no escaping it, but its main ability is to emit psychedelic dust combined with particular wind beats to hijack the brain's reward receptor, forcing its prey to a state of forced euphoria, making them helpless as the creature devours them. Though in a case of realistic world building, the species is also endangered, as it's poached to near extinction, as its powder and abilities are popular for its psychedelic and pleasurable effects. Oh, by the way, there's also canonical drugs in this show and illegal drug trades, as FYI. Even a predator as disturbing as this doesn't deserve that fate, driven to extinction for an ability it evolved in its environment. These predators, while horrible to deal with and hunt sapient species, aren't sapient themselves and can't be held accountable for their actions. They run on instinct and survival, not on morality. Except, there is a predator that does. A sapient species that purposely hunts and devours other sapient species just as intelligent as they are. The Vladats. Now, as I mentioned, the Inner System is regarded as a feared and dangerous solar system, home to some of the most disturbing life of the galaxy. So well regarded as the horror system that rarely any travelers go to it. Part of that could be by the system's ruler, the Ectolord of the Ectoneurite race, Zeskare. Zeskare is truly evil and one of the most twisted members of the system. Zeskare is well noted for his immense sadism and power lust, not only ruling his entire solar system, but he seeks complete universal domination, and has a whole cast of minions under him just as vicious and loyal to a T, such as the unnamed Laboan or Thepkufan that were indispensable in his planned conquest and takeover of Earth, or Krujo, the thug Laboan, and Cthulhu, the Thepkufan cult leader, and of course his right-hand man, Dr. Victor, a brilliant Transilian scientist capable of near fantastical engineering, but no qualms on planetary takeover or defying his master. But these few are the exception to the norm, as most residents of the Omniverse system are just people, civilians just trying to live their life in peaceful society despite their evil leader. But due to their evolution on horror-based ecosystems and lack of contact with other races, the residents of Omniverse are terrified and fear outside life for being so fundamentally wrong and different, especially humans, thinking that they're monsters and want them gone.
Tennyson, huge fan.
Monster! Horrible fleshy monster!
Xenophobia more by circumstance than choice, but the Vladats were the true monsters of the system. Due to conflicting statements, it's unknown if the Vladats were natural or invasive species on Omnitrix, but they were creatures that fed off the life force of living beings, with the unique ability to hypnotize others to their will or spit out flying parasites named corrupturas to hijack the victim's motor functions, turning them to their slaves while aware of their state.
At your command! Curse you!
The Vladats use these abilities to enslave the Transilian race, using them as servants and slaves, and ultimately food, for generations and generations. And also, probably any other unfortunate species at the time. It's shown the Vladats do not seem to respect any other life form than themselves, likely because of their own evolution as predators that can easily enslave and hypnotize other species. If nature thought we were equal, then why did it let us so easily take you over? A sapient species that has no problem in enslaving and consuming other sapient species just as intellectually, if not more capable than themselves, is a terrifying thought. They would inevitably meet their fate when the Transilians revolted with the help of their fellow Omniverse species and captured pyronate energy to disintegrate them with their solar weakness, and the entire species was eradicated and became extinct. Their atrocities were so great and posed such a danger that the other species thought they were too dangerous to survive, and it remained the same for thousands of years until the scare, with the unwitting help of Dr. Victor and the others, managed to resurrect the former Vladat leader, Lord Transil, from a mummified hand in the power of a magical rune, who proceeded to immediately try and eat Victor and Cthulhu before being stopped by Zscared and forced to an uneasy alliance, where Zscared would use him and his DNA to subjugate the planet and clone his species back to life as an invasive alien army.
As we roam from planet to planet, gathering new subjects.
And fresh food.
Even if Dr. Victor is absolutely appalled by the idea of reviving his species' captors and predators. And we see Lord Transil, a single individual, nearly immediately enslave the entire town to his whims. One individual did this. Imagine what a species can do. Ectonurites have a similar ability of possession, but that is at least limited by one individual controlling another, and seemingly only Zscared is willing to do so to his own vile end. This is infinitely worse and makes them truly a threat to all other life, as even Dr. Victor realized it, that his master cared so little of his own people, he was willing to use their predator to enslave them and the universe and restart history and the atrocities that nearly destroyed his people, and actively rebelled and fought back against his former master, helping to defeat him and seal away the resurrected leader where he wouldn't be a threat. There is a sapient species that intensely feeds off of other sapient life forms and has no respect for any other life than themselves, to the point that they had to be eradicated for the safety of all other life, and a short-sighted psychopath nearly brought them back for complete universal domination. And they're really not the only ones. They may be one of the few sapient species to consume other sapient species, but there are many species who do not respect other life and seek their subjugation or eradication. The Atassians, now known as the Hybrid, are an incredibly proud species, regarding themselves as the first species in the universe, which isn't backed up at all, completely obsessed with genetic purity, believing they are superior to all other forms of life, to the point of destroying their own species with inbreeding and lack of genetic diversity that had subjugated them to deteriorating bodies, diseases, and sterility. The hybrid race was dying, being the last generation, and seemed to take all other inferior forms of life down with them, using their resources to commit universal genocide to drive all other life to extinction. To do this, they breed a parasite called a xenocyte that consumes and corrupts a host's DNA, turning them to a mutated slave called a DNA alien, and force them to labor to build massive archways acting act as a galaxy-wide teleporter grid to invade every known planet at once with their massive armadas and destroy them. The war was kickstarted with the destruction of the Galvan home planet, Galvan Prime, to ensure they could not use their incredible technology to save anyone and sabotage intergalactic communication, isolate planets. It was a very well thought out plan for Omnicide. In fact, they would have been destroyed if not for the intervention of Ben 10 to restore the hybrid's broken genetics by hybridizing them with other species, and with the help of another he turned to his side, Reisenreich III, to advocate for peace and that they can live. Universal genocide miraculously avoided. At least the situation had a happy ending despite the many atrocities that still happened in its wake, with so many innocents corrupted, enslaved, and no doubt killed. But this is really an exception. Intergalactic conquerors are a thing. You think colonialism and war were only a concept on Earth? Please. There's galactic level empires and conquests taking over planets and systems and entire races under their rule and subjugation, if not their complete extermination. It's easy to forget that the Tetramans are an empire of their own, especially with the Red Wing Kingdom. While Ben Tennyson had befriended their King Gar, they are still undeniably powerful galactic conquerors who start war campaigns to invade and rule other planets and species with their incredible technology and of course their unmatched physical strength. They literally threatened to destroy Earth if Princess Luma wasn't wed or faced in combat, and Luma threatened it once more if Ben didn't commit. And this is one of the nicer galactic conquering nations. One of the most infamous and feared is the Incursion Empire, a nation that has seemingly devoted itself fully to war that's ingrained in their culture. After their planet was destroyed by their own millennia-long civil war, they gathered as a traveling conquering nation, currently under the rule of Emperor Milius before it was overthrown by his daughter Empress Atea, something that is seemingly common and accepted in their society.
That's my girl. She could do better than that, April.
We've only seen individuals as foot soldiers or military officers, and seemingly their diet is so poor just being pawns for their empire that it stunted their development. But they don't need it, as their real threat comes with their incredible technology and numbers. They have fleets of entire armadas to invade and conquer planets and entire solar systems, with seeming endless amounts of reinforcements. These alone can destroy nearly any other planet's military, but they have plenty of ground troops and megas to destroy entire cities and armies should they resist. In fact, they actively love resistance so that they can fight more and relish in carnage. And not above more underhanded methods like society-wide mind control and even generating mutant behemoths under the beck and call. Somehow able to make mutant hostile Tacustars as a backup weapon to ravage a world. And that's not even mentioning their ultimate weapon, the Conquest Ray, a device so powerful that it can instantly destroy a planet from seemingly any distance. That's right, the Frogs have a goddamn Death Star! In fact, according to Atea, it's customary for the Incursion coronation when she becomes the new leader to destroy a planet in their honor, with Earth going to be the prime target. Hell, it's not even like they need a reason, as when Atea was kidnapped by a mercenary, Milius threatened to destroy the planet if they didn't comply, and to show he's serious, casually destroyed Pluto with the ray, which might have committed a genocide against a Plutonian species, which caused an insurrection and war years later, which cost Max his arm, but that's only mentioned in pop-ups, so... Everyone knows the threat and terror of the Incursion Empire and are feared throughout the galaxy, and do not respect laws made by the galaxy-wide law enforcement, the Plumbers. Even Kevin, who only spent a few years in space between shows, already knew what the Incursions were capable of, and rightfully terrified. When the Incursions tried to conquer Earth a second time, nearly every single alien hidden in the underground settlement of Undertown immediately had a mass evacuation to flee the planet for their own safety, rightfully terrified of the oncoming armada to escape with their lives. There's only arguably one more larger threat than that. Vilgax, one of the most feared individuals in the galaxy. The earliest known history they have is from 1773, where they were a former soldier for the Empire for ambitious disobedience, and thus started their campaign over the course of centuries to become one of the most infamous criminals and warlords of the galaxy, known for destroying several planets and creating a black hole, and straight up threatened to destroy Earth despite it never once being a part of his conquest, only because it annoyed him so much where the Omnitrix was hidden. He was going to destroy the planet and kill all life just for annoying him. One of the most infamous being his role in the destruction of Petropia, hiring the mercenary Tetrax to steal a sacred crystal, to then use its power to decimate his planet and leaving his species fundamentally extinct once they refused to surrender to him. He's so feared that most organic life refused to ally with him, so his forces are almost entirely reliant on robots or synthetic creatures who follow his commands, as well as his infamous warship, the Chimeran Hammer. But the destruction of Petropia highlights one of his core attributes, his never-ending quest for more power power for his conquest. It's why he seeks the Omnitrix as his ultimate prize, the most powerful piece of technology in the universe, with its power that can literally destroy it. His ultimate goal is to make a legion of Omnitrix warriors under his command. There he can have an ever-adapting army that can use all the powers of all the species in the galaxy at once, becoming a force that literally no one can stop. We've seen what happens when one user has an Omnitrix. Imagine millions. Vilgax could easily conquer the entire universe with its power, and it's no wonder his sheer never-ending determination to get it at any cost. But really, his sheer unkillability makes him a threat like no other. What we know is that he was seemingly killed off by Max Tennyson while trying to steal the US Army supply of nuclear weapons, strapping him to one and exploding it onto his ship, where he was presumed dead for years. But that was far from the truth, as we see Vilgax somehow survived and continued on his interplanetary conquest, ambushing Zyadleen transporting the Omnitrix prototype, and nearly died after a direct hit to his station. But still, he survived in a healing tank, but he didn't just revive his body. The time he spent in stasis he used wisely, rebuilding his body with incredible cybernetics, becoming this bulky behemoth, a massive juggernaut of pure strength and durability in his inhumane cunning. Ben Tennyson, with his full arsenal, couldn't even defeat him, as he was the biggest threat he's faced. He was a near unstoppable colossus, only taken down by circumstance. And even then came back stronger under an alliance with Kevin 11 to take the Omnitrix in a full battle in the Null Void. And even trapped in that prison, he managed to escape, regain his forces, and continue his onslaught, fighting the creator of the Omnitrix and forcing them to try and make a new one, only defeated by a kaiju-sized species, the Taku Star, and being thrown into space no worse for wear. And even that didn't stop him, as he continued his conquest, conquering 10 entire worlds including his own, and he went after himself and absorbing their champion's power for himself to counter the power of Ben Tennyson. And even after that loss, he joined forces with Albedo to create the Ultimatrix, a device that can overpower even the Omnitrix, and finally attain it for himself, linking it with his own bioid army to achieve his dream of an unstoppable army. Only defeated when Ben literally destroyed the Omnitrix with its self-destruct and taking the Ultimatrix for himself, and then became the herald for a literal eldritch interdimensional god as a servant on Earth, who managed to double-cross them and take all of their power, only defeated with the power of Ascalon, only to then later on use a Chronosapien time bomb to destroy the multiverse. Yes, literally, he destroyed an infinite amount of universes, Jesus Christ.
To wipe other timelines from existence.
Which one?
All of them.
At least this was somewhat easily reversed, but still, Vilgax literally committed multiversal omnicide, and still he wasn't stopped. Even years in the future, as a literal corpse, he gets resurrected again, stronger than ever, able to combat the entire Omnitrix arsenal. Living in this universe means living in the same universe as this monster, and he alone makes it hell. Her entire existence is threatened. The unstoppable warlord juggernaut who makes all of the threats pale in comparison. Well, maybe not entirely. There are so many horrors existent in this universe and even outside of it. You think that warlords and empires are the only hostile threat to entire planets and species? Please. There's the Great One, a completely unknown entity, seemingly a monstrous tick alien with no origin that has a legacy of lighting like a meteorite from planet to planet, boring into it, corrupting the native environment to siphon energy from the planet's core until it completely explodes, as they encase themselves in a stone shell to the next planet and the next. It has destroyed numerous planets, as it's implied that the cult it's grown honoring it as a god were other species that were destroyed by the behemoth. And it destroyed Arborea, one of the most celebrated and peaceful planets in the galaxy, and basically exterminated the Arborian Pelorota species. And it nearly destroyed Earth, corrupting the entirety of Yellowstone for prime volcanic activity, if Ben 10 didn't just barely manage to defeat it by destroying its insides. But while the Great One might have been destroyed, who knows how many others are out there. Planet devours that destroy entire worlds and kill all life as a result. One of the most disturbing things in this universe, as there's probably even more. Your entire planet's existence is up to chance that one of these things don't fall onto your world. But what about something out of this world? The Null Void is regarded as one of the most dangerous, inhospitable places known to the universe. It's not even in this universe, as it was a strange pocket dimension created by the Galvans, used to imprison the worst of the worst criminals. It's literally an inhospitable hellscape with little gravity, basically like a massive asteroid field, filled with creatures and abominations, not to mention the prisoners basically left to die with literally no way out. Not only that, but plenty of hostile creatures like havoc beasts and feral volmancers constantly run around looking for new prey. However, eventually the criminals procreated, as their children eventually would become just innocent people trying to survive in a world that was literally never meant to be inhabitable. That must be the worst existence ever. Well, no, because even this place isn't free from warlords, as common villain Dr. Animo discovered the dimension and uses genetic manipulation technology to take over the Null Guardians, synthetic creatures meant to be wardens after the generations of natives, and then basically enslave the locals to mine powerful crystals to become a living god to take over the real world, with his new persona, Devoid.
Not my son. I've given you everything you've asked for. Don't take my son!
And if you think basically an intergalactic penal colony in an asteroid field was bad enough, it gets much worse. Now remember those mutant Toku stars made by the Incursion Empire a while ago? You know how they got rid of them? Yep, by sending them all to the Null Void. So now the dimension is filled with feral, monstrous colossi that are practically unkillable and will attack anything they see. Yeah, what the hell? How can literally anything live here? I'm serious, how could literally anything live here? There's no food, no atmosphere, criminals, hostile wildlife, and literal giant demon kaijus rampaging everywhere, what the hell? And the worst part is that the plumbers repeatedly send offenders here, seemingly without trial or parole. I can understand a desperate situation if the creature is too feral or a criminal too dangerous to capture, but seemingly it's like the standard punishment, which is insane. Like, this asshole was willing to send the Alien Force trio to the Null Void for vigilantism. We didn't do jack against the oncoming alien invasion.
Attacked me for no reason. They said they were plumbers.
I've heard enough. You three are under arrest.
Well, that doesn't sound suspicious at all, giant evil alien who has no right to be on this planet. I'm sending you all to space hell. Apab indeed. Thank God he's dead. Actually, on the topic of the plumbers, there's just straight up a Black Ops team led by a psychopath who kidnaps and experiments on children. And no one had a problem with that for literal years and planned to kill Ben because he feared he was too powerful. Now, corrupt law enforcement may be bad enough, but honestly, there's more extra-dimensional terrors. First of all, Ledger Domain. It's a weird anomaly being another dimension where mana flows from the entire universe. It's truly a strange place with its own laws of reality, making sense for a realm of magic. Even humans seem to settle there. Or at least some type of coincidental native Legerdemanian. But a tragedy occurred when an ancient Geochalone area mage named Adwetia found his way to the realm, with the legendary Alpha Rune, corrupted by its power, committed genocide against the Legerdemanians, killing their leader Spellbinder and forcing his daughter Charmcaster and his brother Hex to flee Earth to survive and enslave the rest of the natives. In fact, that kind of retroactively makes the original series more interesting if you consider the reason why the two were so obsessed with obtaining magical power was to defeat the tyrant who destroyed their home and killed their family, and the Tennyson stopped them from avenging them. But even Legerdemanians answer to an actual god. Yes, the Great Dagon, an extra-dimensional, practically eldritch horror who has invaded and conquered hundreds of dimensions and is known as the Old One in the realm of magic, dealing almost like a devil the transfer of souls. Its impact has reached the main prime dimension, forming cults in its honor, such as the Flamekeeper Circle and the Esoterica, using it as a charitable organization to provide humanitarian aid, actually wish to spread their god's influence around the world and behold the second coming, set to bring a new age of mankind and will do anything and commit any atrocity to make it happen. It even spreads to other planets. Remember Cthulhu from the Inner System? He's actually the leader of a Dagon-worshipping cult, as seen with the statues and carvings in his temple. It's actually a really cool detail. But of course, this worship is a lie. Dagon seeks to conquer this dimension and control all its inhabitants as slaves, ruling over an army of demons that feed off of prayers called the Kubras, which can possess and bug other entities. Dagon has invaded our dimension over 1,000 years ago and terrorized the planet, only stopped by the intervention of Azimuth with the reality-warping sword Ascalon, and gifting it to Sir George, the founder of Forever Knights, and a willful, immortal warrior to vanquish it. The fight was so horrible that even Ben and company couldn't stand to witness it. Able to rip out its heart with the blade, able to absorb most of its power and seal it away. Still, it wakes evermore, trying to escape and conquer this dimension, using the Flamekeeper Circle to their advantage and their Lakubra army, even turning Vilgax himself into his herald to break him out. Finally escapes to this dimension once again in a godlike Cthulhu form, and turns every being on Earth aside from the heroes shielded by Gwen's magic and Ascalon to Esoterica as his personal army. He's completely invulnerable to everything the heroes can throw at them, even Ascalon and the power of Ultimate Waybig. He's a nigh invulnerable god, at least in this world, with the only purpose to subjugate it like the rest of the dimensions he's conquered. You're vulnerable to this actual eldritch demon living in this world, and he's not the only thing capable of being a god. Egregore was an Osmosian tyrant with the ability to steal the DNA energy of whatever he contacts. plan to use the ability of 5 powerful alien individuals from Andromeda to become a superpowered mutated monster that's practically unstoppable. That's not the actual end goal, because Aragorn needed this new body to survive the immense trials to locate the pieces of the map of infinity, able to give a person access to the Forge of Creation, where the Celestial Sapiens are. Celestial Sapiens are literal gods of the Ben 10 multiverse, able to easily rewrite all of reality with a single thought. The most powerful beings we've seen in this entire show, like actual gods in the world. However, with the power, there's still one restriction. In order to balance this immense power, a Celestial Sapien can only do anything, literally anything, once the 3 voices in their head agree. These voices are the voice of empathy, the voice of apathy, and lastly, the voice of reason. The way to ensure that a decision is sound and rational and the best possible solution. Celestial Sapiens spend literal eons in deliberation and argument on what to do, to the point where a Celestial Sapien who has normal body autonomy is considered one of the most deliberative individuals. In a world of gods with infinite power, this is the only known thing possible that holds them back, except for one. Infant Celestial Sapiens are too young to have the responsibility of deliberation. No voices in their head, but they have the unlimited power of the species. And that's what Aragorn seeks, to absorb an infant god to take its power and become a living god himself, unstoppable, unbeatable, and truly omnipotent. Plan he was very nearly successful in if Kevin didn't sacrifice his sanity and body by taking the Omnitrix in his own power. Tragedy that really should have been written better, honestly. But still, the multiverse very nearly got a malevolent, all-powerful being with the powers to rewrite reality in an instant. And arguably not even the first time. The Chrono Sapiens are living time machines, not only able to play echoes of times and areas around them, but slow and even stop time around them and travel between points. They have strict laws in order to maintain the balance of time, but this was broken by the tyrant Maltruant, who made the Chrono Sapiens go rogue and start the Time War, which echoed through multiple points in time, as Chrono Sapiens using their power for evil is disastrous. But Maltruant thought bigger. This universe had an origin. The Big Bang, which was nothing more than an experiment by the multidimensional explorers and researchers, the Quantumalia. Using an extra-dimensional device called the Annihilar Genesis Story of Fimurgast, or the Annihilarg, which can create a universe or destroy an existing one. Maltruant managed to travel before the Big Bang to the Quantumalia ship and remade an Annihilarg to make a new Big Bang, a world of his own creation, fundamentally erasing all of existence and making it a new one. Yet another plot for godlike power that was narrowly avoided, but the Quantumalia literally couldn't intervene. Ignore that they're smoothies. Omniverse moment. The more you realize, the Ben 10 universe has all-powerful gods and many are above morality, seeing all of existence as a canvas to remake and rewrite as they see fit, or even worse, treat all of existence as a plaything to bend to their will. Your fundamental existence is in constant danger, far more than you'd figure, and honestly, more than probably every other show that I'll ever cover in this series. Literally, everything is out to get you, no matter where you are or what you are. You can't be screwed over by just what planet you live on being a hellhole, by the active hostile environment, or the ferocious predator specifically about to devour you and your kind. But even if you make a society, it can be easily conquered at any moment by extraterrestrial invaders with much more powerful military, leading to your subjugation, if not all-out enslavement, or even just straight-up extermination by so many different ways, from death weapons and horrifying creatures to the existence of omnipotent gods invading and destroying reality to their whims from one way or another. It's absolutely terrifying. You are never safe. You are arguably never free. You will spend every day of your life in absolute fear of the destruction of yourself, family, species, home, and even just existence itself. Even in a universe of infinity, there's nowhere safe. It's a horrible thought. But you might be thinking, well, I'm on Earth. What if I was just a human? We don't have to deal with all those things. Earth is by far the most endangered planet we see in this show, and the one is an absolute nightmare to deal with. Practically every single problem I listed is a problem for Earth and has been a problem tenfold. Like seriously, this is the worst place to live. First of all, it's Earth. If I was an alien, I wouldn't want to deal with the shit we have here. We're like the Detroit of the galaxy, but there's so much messed up stuff here. Even long ago, guess where the Dagon started his interdimensional conquest? That's right, on Earth of all places. That's where he arose, this is where he was defeated, and this is where his power continues to grow and is first to conquer. Cthulhu is literally stuck here. Earth has had other recorded interactions with extraterrestrials, with the confusing origin of the pyramids. I headcanon that Egyptian culture was influenced by the Thepkufans traveling during the Vladat War, who tried to become these gods from above and replicate their structure, as Blugit and Driba assisted making the pyramids based on Tetraman architecture. Only way I can validate all of this. but it was also the first known target of Vilgax in its early days and was the complete inciting incident of the plumbers. Earth already had to deal with numerous paranormal events, but after 1773, George Washington personally got involved in the Time War against Maltruan and young Vilgax, as they incorporated extraterrestrial matters in their mission to stop the paranormal leaks in society. Ironically, Vilgax helped to make the biggest law governors in the galaxy and his greatest threat. Afterwards, we already covered his next appearance. Now a feared warlord with a reputation, he tried to hijack America's nuclear bomb supply, but was seemingly killed by Max Tennyson. It's implied that after this, the defeat of their original threat, as well as the diminishing extraterrestrial activity, caused the Earth sector of the plumbers to shut down over the course of a few decades, which was a massive mistake, as eventually seeking the Omnitrix, Vilgax came back stronger than ever, and continually sends his drone army to terrorize the world to locate his prize and kill the bearer of the device. Like, literally destroy a city of innocent people, just to draw him out, and again threaten to destroy the planet just for annoying him. But even then, as soon as the Omnitrix arrived on Earth by Vilgax's arrival, in some sheer coincidence, so much trouble arose or finally went to action. Like Dr. Anima, the brilliant but insane genetic scientist, made a breakthrough in genetic transmogrification, able to make near-instant hybrid mutations to turn any organic creature into a mutagenic abomination under his control, and even straight up resurrect dead animals by the bones, able to revive a T-Rex and use it as a mount to rampage across Washington, and attempted to murder a man. And if that's not enough with his plan to rule the Null Void, constantly wants to try to mutate all life in varying horrifying ways for no other reason than just scientific progress and just plain madness. Ancient sea monsters exist under the water and terrorize the locals. Invasion of the Body Snatcher style alien invasion of shape-shifting slime aliens named Limax that literally kidnap people to eat them. Or self-cloning electrical aliens that are literally impossible to catch that possess electronics and have literally no thought aside from causing as much carnage as possible. Ancient sorcerers arise to claim magical artifacts to become all-powerful, as many locations and artifacts of mystical nature are scattered around the world, waiting for a person to use them. Literal zombie clown mutants who go around stealing people's souls to make them stronger. Yeah, what the hell even is this guy? Legitimate zombie clowns exist. And months later, he makes a zombie clown virus that affects nearly all of Bellwood, turning him to the living clown dead. Anyone with carlophobia is gonna be in a living hell. I kinda love it though. Or, you know, just crazy ass mutants with literally no explanation going on. There's so many of these guys, what the hell? I guess there's some X-Gene type stuff going on in this universe. We got guys with acid breath, gator boys, and the ability to control bugs. And then of course the complete wrath of Vilgax and the Great One appearing soon after, not to mention even more corrupted law enforcement. This guy, Phil Billings, yeah, basically set up some weird extortion scheme using his plumber resources and the Null Void projector to bring out aliens from the Null Void and put them back for money. Again, a lot of plumber corruption going on. He even tried to kill Max and get Bent to become his prodigy to do so. Then there's the Forever Knights, an organization dating back to the original defeat of the Dagon, formed by Old George, who factionalized over the decades, such as Enoch's chapter, dedicated to locating and hoarding powerful alien technology for the organization's own use, or Driscoll, the true Forever King, who sought the power of sub-energy guarded in the Plumber compound to power the Forever King armor to become unstoppable, and gathered Ben's other villains together to form the -10 to defeat him, or King Patrick, who kept an innocent alien dragon sealed away for millennia in a seek to annihilate their entire species, as well as other smaller faction leaders like Cyrus and Urain. But what they all have is complete and utter hatred for extraterrestrial life and seeking their extermination, possibly due to their origin stopping the extra-dimensional abomination, the Dagon, from destroying reality, making them slaughter any extraterrestrial on the planet.
There's not one dragon, but an entire planet of... How soon before more of the beasts arrive here wanting revenge? We must always stand ready to fight the dragons.
Yes, these are xenocidal alien racists, practically a parallel of the Plumbers, who are an intergalactic law-keeping organization dedicated to peaceful interspecies relations. Now, for most of the show, these guys aren't much of a threat aside from the technology they occasionally steal. And granted, sometimes their plots don't make much sense, like trying to replace the government with robots. You know what, that actually makes too much sense now.
Oh man, please tell me that was the fake president.
Until Sir George emerges from hiding after the reemergence of the Great Dagon. You know, that eldritch horror that just kind of barely sealed in the planet, to unite the Knights together and start the Purge, an ultimatum for all extraterrestrial life on Earth to leave or die. And they killed an actual character, Pierce Wheels, a human-alien hybrid and one of Max's students, and planned to eliminate more if Ben didn't stop them. However, this wasn't Sir George's goal, as he was trying to stop the Dagon's emergence and the Flamekeeper Circle in their army of esoterica from doing so, which Ben actually agrees to and leads to an uneasy truce in an enemy of my enemy is my friend way for the greater good, eventually resulting in all-out war between the Forever Knights and the esoterica army, though with the release of Dagon, all Forever Knights perished with them. Or did they? Smaller faction of Forever Knight remnants still remained, becoming the last of the organization, still dedicated to the extermination of alien life and made a device to do so. In a way, it's symbolic. The Forever Knights represent the worst of bigotry and hatred, genocidal ideals to an other, of a possible perceived threat, refusing to acknowledge them as an equal. As much as we hate it, it's not an idea that just goes away. It remains persistent like the evil in men's heart. Proves that something doesn't need to be an alien to be a monster. But what about other monsters? Camp Fear revealed a full-on extraterrestrial fungal biosphere that terrorized a summer camp, all controlled by a virulent mycelium hive mind determined to spread its spores to infect the entire world. And you thought Dagon was the only god? Deeply sealed in the Mayan temple of Apuk lies the god of death himself. There's no explanation to this near unstoppable behemoth. It's a violent, vicious god seeking retribution for those who dare to try and steal its sacred sword. What else possibly lies unknown to civilization? Actual gods and monsters? Seemingly unrelated to alien activity. It's not to terrify anyone, but there are some alien monsters. Namely Zeskar. As I said, Zeskar started his conquest of Earth once released from the Omnitrix, seeking to possess Ben to become immune to his sunlight weakness and to have the Omnitrix to become unstoppable, treating everything around them as meat puppets to possess, even possessing Gwen and threatening to make her jump off a building if he didn't give up. But that wasn't the end of his plan. As a failsafe, he contacted his Anur accomplices to make his grand plan. Using Dr. Victor's teleportation technology, he was able to warp to the planet and get the werewolf in Mexico to build a satellite transceiver on Earth. The mummy mined samples of corrodium, an insanely mutagenic material that turns any organic life exposed to it to an obsidian-like feral zombie. And Dr. Victor to infiltrate NASA to construct a special rocket to fire into space and revive him off of remnants of his DNA. Once there, the corrodium samples will be stored with its dark energy bouncing off the transceiver and encase the world in a bubble of corrodium energy, not only mutating all life on the planet to corrodium mutants, but encasing it in shadow so no sunlight can penetrate it, making it the perfect location for Zeskar to start his intergalactic conquest with absolutely no resistance. Only just barely did the Tennysons manage to avoid it and stop the rate for a permanently mutated all life. But still, all of Earth got zombified. Like seriously, no one else acknowledges this after. What the hell? There must have been some absolute carnage and damage from like that 5 minutes. And like no traces of this mutation remained? Like seriously, this has to have had a much bigger impact on the world that's never acknowledged. But seriously, everyone on Earth got zombified. Literally all life. That could be you. You could be one of these things and very nearly permanently. Holy shit. Like again, Earth is one of the worst places to live. Remember all of these and we're not done. Remember the hybrid invasion? Yeah, Earth was not spared. That was a target as well. Hundreds, if not thousands of humans were abducted and forcibly turned to DNA alien slaves by the xenocytes. You see this? This thing will latch onto your face and mutate you near permanently. Jesus Christ. And again, you'll be in literal slave labor to construct the transporter arcs until you're ultimately killed off by the hybrid fleet, along with your planet and species with it. This is a complete nightmare. There's even an episode about a guy who was basically trying to fight his own possession. It's messed up. Oh yeah, also there's this dude who was caught in a time travel experiment who became just straight up a dimensional anomaly, in a living death that rapidly ages anything he touches. And there's just straight up a timeline where he ends up accidentally destroying all life on Earth. Thankfully it was undone by intervention, but still a nightmarish thought. Not to mention the first incursion invasion of Earth after Atea got kidnapped. But even when the hybrid invasion was stopped, there was no doubt many innocent human lives lost in the conflict during and before the final battle. Innocent people are dead and will never see their families again. And that could easily be you. Not to mention the casualties on the thousands of other planets in this Omnicide. And then immediately after, Vilgax committed to the Conqueror's challenge to legally own Earth by defeating Ben Tennyson. And Volcanus tried to melt the planet after somehow buying it. That doesn't make sense. But literally the same thing happened in Omniverse with the Cryo Tribe, and people 100% died here. Like, look at this. Lava is boiling out of buildings. Thousands are incinerated. I'm not kidding. This show has an insane off-screen body count. Also, the hybrid backup plan to destroy the planet even if they failed. They wanted this place gone. Then there's whatever happened in Alien Swarm. Yeah. Ultimate Alien doesn't hold back on the dangers either, just for living here. I already mentioned Aragorn and his plan to achieve godlike power, but there's another invasion of the Body Snatchers with these unexplained plants that managed to steal the Omnitrix somehow. This stupid plant did what Vilgax couldn't. But hilariously, the series does have a full-on perspective on what it's like living here when you're not Ben. Albeit in Gwen's perspective, and yeah, it's pretty rough to be just a guy in this world.
My car's been demolished. Something about a giant frog.
Also, you know the whole dragon thing going on with mind controlling demons running around and turning all light to esoterica. Also, Mauve Rito literally drained the world's ocean to clone her children. Where's Team Aqua when you need them? Also, the Pacific Garbage Patch is now mutated and alive and is probably gonna kill us all. Yeah. Where's Captain Planet when you need him? And possibly, even worse than all of that, all of your eggs turning into evil pterodactyl men. Come on, those are expensive. You can't do this to me. Clearly, the worst thing Dr. Animo has ever done. But the Omniverse era might have just the worst amount of total planetary risk or carnage. I already mentioned hot stretch and how many people must have died from that. Wait, shouldn't Undertown also have been flooded with magma?
What happened when it flows down into Undertown?
My parents!
Also, Animo's plans to mutate all ants on Earth to monstrous behemoths under its control to destroy civilization. You know, actually pretty good plan if you can pull it off and create it to boot. Well, yeah, imagine all of humanity being torn apart by trillions of ants the size of a car. Fallout 3 reference. Also, with the reveal of a massive alien community under Earth, it also exposes the public to a new brand of on-planet criminals in the new society. Or those smuggling endangered species that grow giant and cause havoc. Or just actual predators. Yeah, remember all those from earlier? Put them all on Earth, see what happens, see what collateral damage occurs. Tetraments again nearly threaten to destroy the planet in an invasion. Alien pirates strike down Earth ships to sell to collectors, with people still inside. Also, remember the null void projector? Yeah, well, superpowered mutated criminals hijacked it and now threatened to warp the entire city to space hell. And maybe most random of all, there's a parallel dimension of robots that seek to destroy all organic life, wiped out all life in their dimension, and now proceed to try to do the same to our reality. If these robots weren't stupid cannon fodder, I consider them a lot more threatening and messed up. But yeah, there's also an official crossover with the Secret Saturday show if you remember that. Weirdly long after it ended. But due to that, the events of that show is canon to this show. And that show is basically every cryptid known to man being a real thing. Also most of Mesopotamian mythology as well, including the cryptid demon King Kur, who tried to destroy man and the race of Naga people. Wait, is that what Serpent is? That actually makes sense. There's, you know, more horrible timeline trouble threatening to destroy all of time and space. And the second incursion invasion of Earth, this time we're serious, as they go on full actual assault this time, using their armada to actively fire on the world and populace, destroy entire cities, and then as their ultimate backup plan, unleashed hordes of mutant Tokustar to ravage the planet and destroy structures and landmarks. And Earth gave up, like legit they surrendered, and all the plumbers got incarcerated under the new incursion rule. And for a smart move, exiled Ben from the planet. An incursion occupation lasted for an entire month. Yeah, literally an entire month straight of being occupied by space frog fascists, with Waybads basically free to roam and do whatever the hell they want. Like seriously, imagine living in this time. Your society is taken over by invaders, now a complete police state trying to snuff out any hits of rebellion, safeguarded by indestructible city-destroying colossi running amok. It's so bad that the humans and remaining aliens on the planet were forced to work together to survive. At least a good thing that has resulted from this is that Earth now completely accepted extraterrestrials and live in unison. But even then, their defeat only occurred really just barely, and mostly due to the intentions of Princess Atea to usurp her father, this time for good, still threatening the conquest ray unless Earth accepts her terms, still basically getting away with all of it. This whole thing was one of the biggest why it sucks to live in this show examples. Like seriously, there must have been so much hell during that month. But there's still more in this era. Mauve Rito trying to destroy the sun. Yes, destroy the sun. Forever Knight's trying to erase all alien DNA from the planet even after the demise. Bulgax's feral squid monster minions getting unleashed on Bellwood and weaponized by Siphon as his personal army. Oh yeah, did I mention that Vilgax has freaking destroyed all of realities and the entire multiverse? Yes, the entire thing, casually, every reality ever, dead and gone. At least it was somewhat easily undone, but still, Jesus. Tetraman and Incursion Army threatening to destroy Earth again. Bootleg Nerd Galactus is deciding that he's gonna add the entire damn planet to his collection. Yes, really, just keeping the entire planet as a collectible like a Funko Pop. A similar random unexplained space douchebag is this guy, making a giant doomsday weapon to annihilate all life on Earth for the sake of peace. Even more timeline problems in an episode I generally cannot even comprehend what the hell even happened in it, resulting in a full-on black hole on Earth. Everyone is dead again. Not to mention the time war that happened soon after and the risk of literally all the universe being rewritten and just barely managed to avoid it. All of these happen on Earth. Yeah, seriously, I generally think that there's like no worse place to live in the universe. Like even in extremophile planets, at least some life has managed to survive there. This continually has to do with terrible invasions, horrible monsters, actual gods that are not benevolent, and just dangerous to the entire planet and just universe again and again and again. I can't even imagine sleeping at night peacefully, knowing I could just be one pissed off alien away from having my life and planet destroyed. Like every single day, some terrible cataclysm or panic happens, and it's always just barely avoided. All of your life is going to be a near crisis, all while having a huge loss of life, suffering, and collateral damage. You live here, you are signing for a lifetime of near misses, a complete and total annihilation that one day is gonna run out, it's gonna actually happen. It's fundamentally terrifying. But the worst part about living in the Ben 10 universe is you're going to die. Everything is going to die. Literally everything. No, I don't mean that one of these threats are going to eventually take you down. I don't mean some allegorical, we all die one day. I mean, you are 100% guaranteed to die along with all of reality. It happened. Yes, Ben 10 legitimately destroyed its own reality. Remember what I said, how the Annihilar can destroy or create a universe? No universe exists, and Annihilar will make a new one. But if it does, it will destroy it. But a Quantumania ship appeared in Earth's orbit, leading multiple parties trying to take an Annihilar for themselves as an ultimate weapon. And it went off. It erased all of reality. That's it. All life in the universe was destroyed fundamentally. The only thing in existence to survive was Ben, who saved himself in the form of Alien X, whose multiversal power made him immune. Trying to argue with Bellicus and Serena to save the universe, eventually he could not. Decided to just make an identical copy. And this is the universe from now on. Just a copy. Everyone, and I mean everyone from before, is dead. All life, all of existence is gone. Just a copy. That is undescribable horror. Oh, there's so many universal threats in shows like this, we gotta stop before the universe gets destroyed. Ben 10 has had plenty before and so many other shows do it. But Ben 10 is the only show I've seen that is genuinely committed to it. And my ultimate reason to why it sucks to live here. Ultimate and total annihilation is completely ensured. I can't even comprehend it really, and it stays that way for the rest of the show. It's never undone, it's acknowledged, and everything we know from this point forward is just a copy. I just wish that damn show treated it with some dignity. Like, literally the show treats it like a goddamn joke. And doesn't care that his entire family is dead and he's hanging out with clones he made. The only thing he cares about is the f***ing smoothie flavor. Ugh, Omniverse, why do you do this to me? But yeah, your death is completely inserted in the Ben 10 universe, and I struggle to think of a worse universe to live in. With so many biological threats they're just trying to evolve in any of the planets in the universe, the plethora of evil empires trying to conquer and enslave planets and races, if not the entire universe, eldritch horrors and people trying to rewrite the universe or become gods themselves, and ultimately regardless, the destruction of literally everything in the universe. This place is a complete hell. Every second of your life is going to be worried about the next possible threat to your existence, be it natural or extraterrestrial. And ultimately, you are going to die. Your life with an Omnitrix may be incredible, but without it, well, it sucks to live in Ben 10. Also, that would mean living in the same world as Kai, and that's all I really need to say. Tell me what other show I should do a Why It Sucks to Live in vid with. Goodbye!
Then you have made your choice.
No, you can't.
Did Pierce just die? You know, it was really unclear.